What is up, everyone? Nintern here. I am back on the Curse of Ulatek 12.1 PTR. We have been doing some cooking in the kitchen. Myself and my good friend Joe over in the Demon Hunter Discord, who also made the Reaper add-on. We've been kind of cooking up some stuff for Season 2, starting with our builds. The main thing is, yes, there's been some cooks. The build is still relatively the same. Our biggest thing is, like, we're not taking Void Purge. There's no Void Rage because Mastery is just kind of nuked. But we have both points in Sweet Suffering and both points in Sweet Release. And if you take a look to your left, Flamebound is taken over Student of Suffering. After the Mastery nerf, Student of Suffering is pretty dog shit, just to kind of put it bluntly. And the thing with Flamebound is when you simmed Voidscar melee before, things like Student of Suffering were so bad and other things were just so much better damage wise that like doing Hungering Slash and Flamebound wasn't really a thing. And so with these changes that we've gotten and just kind of after cooking some of the APL rotation stuff, we want to incorporate Hungering Slash into our rotation, and that mostly comes in the form of smuggling it into meta to trigger Reaper's Toll, which is the upgraded version of that. But the big thing that this does is primarily for the hunt. It's kind of just wanting to use the hunt on cooldown, just to kind of put it on cooldown. And I think part of that is because, like, even out of meta reaps with our new tier set and everything do a lot of damage. So, like, we just want to buff that, and we also just want to keep these kinds of things on cooldown and not let them sit. So just to kind of give an example, and I mean, it's not going to be perfect. I'm still, working through it and kind of getting used to it. But you're basically going still like the same thing on pre-pull. Like, I'm going to soul ammo into a consume. But then I'm going to do my hunt melee combo. And then I'm going to reap twice since I have the souls to do so to hopefully trigger the tier set or try to. And then I can go into meta now. So I'm going to Void Blade, meta, pot, Reaper's Toll, backflip. And then I'm just going to do both my melee combos. And you might be asking, like, Nintern, like, why aren't you putting, Void Ray on cooldown? And the biggest answer to that is basically that, like, Void Ray really, and, like, we're losing the tier set from Season 1, among other things. So, like, having like, Void Ray isn't a high priority, really, all that much. And what I'm playing now is the AoE version of this, but you kind of get the idea that I want to smuggle these, and then I'm doing this sort of triple melee combo, and then you can weave culls in, or you can do the double cull there. But you're really not in meta for very long at all. But the Reaper's Toll, and I'll just pull up my... I mean, it's not a true damage breakdown, but... like, Hungering Slash is a decent bit of your... Like, this is combining it with Reaper's Toll, but it's a decent bit of your damage. Combined with, like, Burning Blades. So, that's a change, like, I'm really excited to see for us rotationally, assuming nothing else changes. So in pure single target, just because this is kind of the Cleave Mythic Plus version, I'm going to take the points out of Eradicate and Star Fragments, and then I'm going to grab Soulforged Blades, and then I'm going to grab either, it's kind of up in the air a little bit, but I'm going to grab this point in Gift of the Void for the 2% crit chance. And that's going to just give my Reaper's Tools an even higher chance to crit and benefit from both Flamebound and Calamitous. I think this build, now that we've kind of incorporated Hungering Slash into it and it's actually good to do, I think it's far more enjoyable now. And especially with, like, not getting punished that much for casting Void Ray and all that stuff. Or, like, waiting to cast Void Ray, rather. But I think the build is very fun, and I'll do a little bit more on the single target dummy really quickly. But I mean, I just think this rocks pretty hard. And like even on pull, like I'm already ready for meta, which I think is pretty sick. And like obviously I'm not in perfect gear or anything, but gear wise we're kind of looking at being crit is greater than or equal to haste, which is greater than mastery, kind of greater than or equal to. Because yeah, mastery got nerfed really heavily in meta, but this build isn't in meta for these super long stretches of time. So I mean, it's sort of different in that way. And you'll notice I'm going to hold this Void Blade because meta is coming. Like, I'm going to get meta within 30 seconds, so I really have no reason to spend that because I want to carry it over into meta. And you're really not losing out on that much by doing that. And then just keep my Reap going and making sure that I'm doing it with 4 souls to try to trigger our tier set. It still doesn't work with Eradicate, which sucks. But that is kind of the big thing we're looking at right now. And I think it's going to be fun for a lot of people. It'll definitely take, if you're really hardcore Annihilator person that you like just have only sat in range and you're kind of wary about this, I get it. It's entirely different to how it's playing in Season 1. So that's totally understandable, and I think it just takes some time to relearn. And honestly, if you are willing to like get on the PTR, like I think the dummy dome is actually pretty great. I have some gripes with it, but like
I got just what you need.
I can just clear these dummies, and then I can switch to 5 stack, and then I can test sort of AoE stuff that way. And in Mythic Plus, it was kind of a debate for a little bit, and I actually forgot to take this out earlier. But your AoE looks a little bit more like this, kind of. I don't have the build exactly in front of me, but it'll be something in the vein of this, because having the extra crit chance is really nice in these AoE packs for Hungering Slash. And my big thing, what I'm doing here, is I'm going to just send both, like, as I'm kind of in a pack here, because I think just putting them in cooldown, and also, like, if it lines up, great, but you really should just be wanting to use them, because just putting them on cooldown is important. And I don't really care about, I mean, you care about how many souls you're consuming, but not for the reason you would think, because I just care about rolling Torment. That's why I care about, consuming enough souls in meta to really benefit from that. Because at the end of the day, like, the build itself just kind of wants to be, like, out of meta. A lot of it just wants to be a Void Ray spam thing. Because that's just more ERADs, which means more AoE damage. Which is great. And then in meta, it's like, okay, I do my combo, and then I just do a couple Reaps or Culls, and then I'm out of there. But yeah, that is kind of just a recap. We'll have more refined builds as PTR progresses, and if we get any more changes. I'd say if we honestly, if we don't get any more changes, like, the build is kind of set in stone, and I'll have links and codes for the exact builds in the description. Just because I didn't do a good job of showing them here, but for now, I think that's where I'll leave it. I'm really looking forward to this, to be honest with you. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to ping me in my Discord or in the Fellhammer Discord. And I can give more in-depth thoughts on that. But for now, I hope y'all have a wonderful day.